Hi, it's Dwyer. GamblersAdvisory.com, a free site. BettingAngle.us, a free site. Today is Monday, November 28th, 2022. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Let's talk NFL. I had a terrible weekend. I had a bad weekend. I got tossed like a salad. But before we get into my bad weekend, I believe this has to be said. Right? Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, of all the quarterbacks in the National Football League, when healthy, and understand, both guys are banged up. When healthy, if there were a big game where I needed a win, those two guys would be the two guys I'd go with. They're both spectacular quarterbacks. Right? Spectacular quarterbacks. If you look at Rodgers' stats this year, those are excellent stats for most quarterbacks. Maybe not Aaron Rodgers, but for most quarterbacks. And of course, this is a team that spent a lot of money on defense and that allowed Davante Adams to leave the building. With Russell Wilson, folks, it's a perfect storm. I'm tired of hearing how the Broncos are, on a pace to score the least amount of points per game over the last 20 plus years. You understand it doesn't get worse than this. First, Russell's on a new team, right? Let's be clear here. This isn't an established quarterback on his existing team, unable to score points. Russell's on a new team. Worse yet, that team gave him a first-year head coach who is in over his head, right? This coach would be in over his head, whether he had John Elway or Russell Wilson, right? You might recall the game where instead of putting the ball in Russell's hand, they decided to have the kicker come out and try some ridiculously long field goal to keep that game going. Kicker missed, they lost. Right? You can't blame Russell for that. Let's also face it too. Russell's offensive line is hurt. Folks, Russell's wide receivers are hurt. Let's be clear. He's not throwing the football to DeAndre Hopkins or Tyreek Hill. Right? Denver has some challenges. So, I know both guys, right? Rodgers has a busted thumb on his throwing hand. Right? Russ has a shoulder injury. Folks, when you're a passing quarterback, these are terrible injuries to have. Right? These are the kind of guys who will tape up the injury, go out and play the game. So don't get too carried away by their performances this year. Right? You give Russell Wilson a healthy supporting cast in a system he knows, right? Where it's not a first year type deal with a coach who is a little bit more experienced, and some good things are going to happen. Right? The defense is there, folks. The defense is brick. The offense, if the guys just were healthy, they'd be doing a lot better. Right? Keep in mind, they've been winning some games. And then it got away from them at the end. That Raider game last week. Right? So I know it's popular right now. Oh, Rodgers isn't playing like Rodgers. Oh, is Russell Wilson even good? The answer is Rodgers is still a great quarterback. Russell Wilson is still a great quarterback. Right? In a big game, if my money's on the opponent, these aren't the guys I want to face. Let's talk about my week. Let's make this about me. Terrible week. I lost 2 games in overtime. Right? The worst part of it was that my teams were winning late. And then, of course, the other team not only scores to force the overtime, but then scores in the overtime. The Tom Brady game was notable because Brady in 218 games hadn't had a lead like this with 2 minutes left and lose the game. Also, the Browns' spectacular play on fourth down, touchdown, uh, outrageous finish. Fortunately, there were people like me who actually bet money on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The game that hurt me the most were the Seattle Seahawks. I had this game penciled in weeks ago. I love the situation. Right here, you're telling me that Seattle at home, after a bye, scores more than 30 points and loses to a team playing their second straight road game that's under 500. Right? Finally, I lost the third game. Right? Got tossed like a salad. I lost at home with the Titans against the Joe Mixon-less, Jamar Chase-less Bengals. Right? Bengals didn't have their best running back, didn't have their best wide receiver. Let's just say Joe Burrow is a bad man. Right? So I'm back in the saddle this week. Let's hope I do better than last week, which was a total disaster. I believe it's important here to be accountable. Let's talk about it. Next week, what idiot after the week I just had would bet against the Buffalo Bills? I like the New England Patriots, right? I got them at 6 points, right? +6. Keep in mind, I buy points on occasion. I got the Patriots at +6 against the Buffalo Bills. Folks, the Patriot defense, especially its run defense, has been top notch. Also, there's a debt that needs to be repaid here. Patriots made the playoffs last year and got beaten up, manhandled by Buffalo, right? I imagine this is a game you circle on your calendar. Also, I just don't believe that Josh Allen is completely healthy. So I don't expect Buffalo to be able to run the football. The pass rush has been badly hurt. Von Miller had 8 sacks, folks, 8 sacks. He's out now with a sprained knee. I don't believe Vegas has adjusted this line yet. So I'm on the New England side of the play. I paid for some extra points. I have New England +6. Next, the Raiders have beaten me 2 weeks in a row in overtime. Think about that. Right? In overtime. Well, I'm betting against them this week. I agree. They've been on a run. Right? Jacobs, the running back, is spectacular. Devontae Adams is getting the ball thrown his way a lot more. But Waller's still out. I believe the team still has problems, and they're facing the Los Angeles Chargers. I took the Chargers. I laid 2, got a -111 over the Raiders. I like the Chargers -2 over the Raiders. Next, I like the Vikings. I prefer to have it -2.5, but I did bet the -3. Got a -106 over the New York Jets. Right now, I understand. The backup stepped in. Zach Taylor seems to be persona non grata in the building. The backup now has stepped in and looked good. Right? Okay, fair enough. Folks, after being embarrassed by the Cowboys, I couldn't imagine the Vikings being flat in this game. Right? Not only that, once you get tape on the backup quarterback, you start to figure out how to defend against him. The Vikings should have tape this week. I like the Vikings -3 over the Jets. Finally, and this team's a great futures play. You saw the defense. They won by shutout. San Francisco is playing Miami, but San Francisco is playing them in San Francisco, where San Francisco just played this last week. Right? I know Tua, who is on my fantasy team, is much better than advertised. I understand Tyreek Hill, who I mentioned earlier in this video, isn't the only superstar receiver on the Miami Dolphins. Waddle is tremendous. But I'm going to take the team that just pitched a shutout. I'm going to dumb down the line. I'm going to pay money. I'm going to give away points, right, to get this line down to a 2.5. So this way, if it goes into overtime, all I need is a field goal to win. Right, I'll concede the Dolphins are offensively blessed. I just don't believe they can match the Niners in defense. I believe the Niner rushing attack is going to keep Tua off the field. Right? I like San Francisco laying 2.5 points. I paid a little here. I'm only getting a -146 on it, but I wanted it to be within a field goal. I like San Francisco -2.5 at a -146 over the Miami Dolphins. So to sum up, I like the Patriots +6 over Buffalo. I paid a little for that. I like the Chargers -2 over the Raiders. I like the Vikings -3 over the Jets. And I paid a little to get San Francisco -2.5 over the Miami Dolphins. That's how I see this coming week. Let me hear from you. Tell us how you did this last week, right? Especially if you were on the other side of the play in the games I lost, the Tampa Bay game, the Seahawk game, and the Titan game, right? Give us the reasoning. Also, tell us where you stand this week in the comment section of this YouTube video. Thanks for stopping by.